stay and run the city in an emergency fiscal situation, what does it look like? I mean, because that does stay the same every year.
But if, like you brought up, cutting grass, what are you gonna do with that employee then? If he's not cutting grass when that's what he usually does?
Well, I mean, I think that's part
Have
of,
him do something else?
I don't know, I mean, that's,
It sounds like maybe
This-
what you're looking for is to have the list of what's essential.
right.
And then you can decide what you think is beyond essential. Now, that is subject to interpretation of what's
What's
essential as,
essential?
I
Someone's
know,
duties or the
no,
equipment?
I
or
mean services.
Services?
Essential
public.
services to the public. Now, that gets to be real fuzzy as well, because when people have a service that we could consider luxury, if you want to throw it out there, they might see that that's essential. You know,
Yeah.
response times of public works going to vac out, we talked about, you know, like, if you have your basement backing up, we don't do it. Well, we could allow it to happen, but we don't, because we have people who jump in fast and know what they need to do. But that's not essential, probably.
Well, we could wait till Monday.
Well, you guys wanna pick out, if you wanna,
Right?
if you wanna pick out the
But I
very
don't think
worst,
the homeowner wants that.
if you wanna pick out the nastiest example, that's fine, we can play that game, but,
That's not
That's
an
not-
that's not a nasty example.
so,
What,
anyway,
when you
that's
talk
what I'd
about
like to
cutting
see is-
services,
we have a fiscal emergency plan in place.
I think it sounds good, but I think it'd be really, really difficult to do because everybody's gonna have a different value to certain things. So like, say if you were to do it if you wanted to do that,
Well, I'm
And-
not asking for everybody's opinion, I'm asking for Josie and the department heads to work together to make their opinion on, if you had to make do, I mean, how do we do this? I mean, if you had no choice, and it was 10% and 25, and we did not, I mean, it's either you tax more and raise the rate, or, and you burden people that are already burdened, or you find a way to live within your means like they had to in '07 and '08. I mean, what, you know, I don't know. I mean, don't you think it'd be wise to have a plan in place of how would you handle a situation like that?
I think it'd be interesting. I don't know. Like say if Travis thought maybe we could patrol 10% less, so we use 10% less gas, or something
then
that's
you're
maybe not.
gonna have officers jumping ship. Cause
Well-
they're not getting their 40
Well, where are they
hours
gonna
in.
go? Because everywhere's gonna do it. I mean, it's
Oh,
just an interesting,
believe
it's just
me.
an interesting thing to, you know.
Right.
Everybody's
and that's a
hiring
great
police
point, Lou, because
officers.
we're not, if we're in that situation, so would everybody else.
Right.
They'd be in that situation, but they'd be sitting there pulling their hair out, not knowing what to do.
And when shit goes in the tank that bad, believe me, crime goes up.
Right.
You ain't.
Well, I know, it was a hypothetical example.
Right.
Yeah. It was just a simple example. Like if people are really hurting, they try to drive less. Like if you're really hurting, you maybe carpool to work instead of driving separate. You know what I mean? It's a logical example that the real world understands.
And we can't really make any decisions here
Right.
tonight anyway, but I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense, and I don't think that we're in agreement on that, I don't know, Dan,
I just think you can't predict the future.
Yeah.
You have to kind of roll with it and make changes as you go. You can't, it's hard to, I mean, do you have a plan in place at home or with their business?
no, but I probably should, but at the same time, though, my business is always fluctuating, and it's growing, or it's shrinking, or it's, you know, I mean, we have,
I mean,
I think
I'm not
Josie's
trying-
word of essential
just as an
duties to
example.
keep things afloat, we have that, and that doesn't really change a whole lot from year to year, I mean, that's.
Right,
but-
well, because some of those things are statutory obligated, like
Right.
to provide certain services.
Right.
You know, and that would be where you'd start, and then you'd go from there, and it's got to be prioritized on beyond that.
But yeah, I mean, my business, I mean, I might add a new location in 6 months, or I might close a location, or, I mean, it's really varies from time to time, you know what I mean? But the city has certain essential responsibilities that I think that, you know, you say, okay, well, how do we manage that? But yeah, I mean, we don't have to make a decision on that tonight or anything like that.
Just every service the city provides, there's an employee attached to that service that's working hard to provide that service. If you eliminate that service, you're gonna have an employee standing there with what to do. So you're gonna lay him off or her off? Cause that service was eliminated?
Are you gonna raise taxes on people that already can't afford to stay in their homes? pay for that employee? You're gonna kick people out of their houses to,
I don't, I'm not in charge of kicking people's house, kicking them out of their house.
if you have to raise their taxes so high that
And we are in charge of that.
we are.
But I'm gonna tell you right now.
No, we're
If
not.
things go that bad, they're not making their house payment, and the bank's gonna be taking the house. So it isn't gonna matter what you charge for tax. So
I can see
you got an orange in
eliminating,
this hand, and you got a
We
grapefruit in
can,
this.
we can play
so.
extreme example all day long.
What I'm just saying is, if it gets to that point that people are gonna get kicked out of their house, it's gonna be losing their house because they couldn't make their mortgage payments. And that isn't
You're
yours,
gonna raise taxes on those.
but Jimmy, you missed the
why
point.
would you raise taxes?
If you lose your house, if you lose your house over your taxes, that means you did not fiscally be responsible to hold your money to where it should have been accountable. And at that point, you're obviously not making your house payments.
But you're gonna pile on those poor people.
Okay, but my poor
Horrible
people, my
situation,
taxes
in a
went up to
recession, you're gonna just
$4,000
keep
from
piling it on,
35.
piling it on.
Hundred,
The city
went over
won't- the city-
$500.
The city doesn't care at all. They don't care one bit. We're
You
just-
do whatever you want.
We just have to make sure we continue to operate our city just as if nothing was going on. If we had a recession, we would just raise taxes to keep everything at where the level it is now. Or we don't, and at that time, then you'd have to make some decisions that were really hard that you hadn't been prepared or hadn't even ever thought about before. You don't think it would be wise to have a plan or maybe have pre-thought about some of those things if you had a rough situation like that you had to deal with?
When that time comes, we will have time to react. But to push a panic button today or tomorrow prior to that happening
I'm not
is gonna
pushing a
cause,
panic button,
okay.
Steve. I'm-
But you're asking for something that you will be pushing a panic button for. You don't understand that. If somebody walked into your store, one of your restaurants and said, Jimmy's going out of business tomorrow, and everyone, just because I felt that the economy's gonna go bad, and all of a sudden your people, workers, get wind of this, say, screw this, I'm gonna go find another job, I quit today, that's putting you in a bad position. And that's what you're asking her to do at this point. Luke, and to your point, when
pushing
you
the
said
panic
recession, we've been in a recession for the last 6 months.
Pushing the panic button would be if you didn't have a plan in place, and then you're sitting there going, boy, what are we gonna do?
There's two types of panic buttons.
How about can we talk about a slightly different example? So say Steve, in your job, you're doing HVAC stuff, and if you went to work tomorrow and your boss asked you to prioritize the most important things in your job, if you had to stop 10% of them, would you think you could think of that on the spot, or you think you might?
Yeah, I could.
Okay. You think?
Because it depends on what's going on at that time.
Oh, right.
There is no same correlation. But I'm just telling you, as soon as you ask somebody to figure out how they're gonna make a cut,
they'll make it.
you're gonna have a problem. If you asking them,
Right.
if, there's a lot of ifs in this world. If I wouldn't have wiped my ass after I took a shit today, my butt would be itching right now.
Let's keep it a little.
Well, you're missing my point, and then you keep driving this tax down people's throats, they're gonna lose their house over their taxes. You're missing that point.
That's a very extreme example, you're right, that's kinda like.
That is-
That's kinda like saying they're gonna have a bunch of crap in their basement because we can't get the back truck out.
But you
That's
keep.
not about getting the back truck out. She was saying if you cut that service.
Yeah, right, I mean, is that?
That's
is
what's that
we're
referring
saying?
to.
Do you think that maybe would fall into the essential stuff?
You would hope so.
I would hope so too. Maybe
But
we should-
that's-
maybe we
but
should
that's up
decide-
to the-
Maybe we should think about that ahead of time, so that we make sure we don't have to cut stuff like that in a panic, and we think about it ahead of time, and we say.
Well, if we
what-
sat
what
down
is
in a
essential?
meeting 10 years
I
from
would
now, I'd say
I
the
would say
same
making
thing.
sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen is essential. But you guys wanna throw this extreme example out there, so I threw one out there for you. Well, you're gonna kick somebody out of their house if you're just gonna raise taxes to keep everything afloat? So, we don't have to continue this discussion tonight, but I think to me, it was a goal that we should have a plan, an emergency plan in place, just like we have for everything else that you already mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of emergency planning that goes into running a city, and to have a fiscal emergency plan, I think you're right, that it'd be a good idea to not have it necessarily be publicly shared, because it would be hard for you to have that conversation and have that all be, it's not even a thing until it would absolutely have to be done, you know what I mean? So, but I think it would be wise for us to have a plan in place and to be prepared for a situation like that. But any other topics?
goals?
I did have one. So I know, we talked about Facebook and you said something about Facebook for flyers or whatever. Would it be possible to, like a goal to maybe like start a Facebook group for the city of Isani? Because in groups you can do like polls and stuff like that, so we could do like surveys in the group pages. And I know there's always comments that you don't like or that don't really fit the bill, but I think it would be important, and a couple of people have brought up, like, maybe you should just start a group that's not in, like, the Facebook Cambridge Isani community page or whatever, like, start our own group, so just City of Isani stuff, like, say for the, you know, for the splash pad, we have, like, a survey, like, would you wanna see this amenity, like, just, it's just another
You can do that
free
with the
resource.
page they have now.
You could, but it's not
I
as
wouldn't-
concentrated.
I would not recommend that.
I know you want it, but that's,
Because look, if you look
You're
at a lot
missing-
of those
you're
things,
missing a lot
It's
of the
free
population
information.
Because you're only getting people that are on Facebook.
Oh,
I-
correct.
I
You
would
also-
never, me personally, would never see that on Facebook. 'cause
Sure.
I'm not on
But it-
Facebook
but it's
unless
free.
for something I need to do,
That's-
but.
but if you look at a lot of those, I say in the Cambridge community page, Cambridge Blue Jackets thing, they're constantly reminding people this is not what this page is for. And then you've got an administrative nightmare because this person doesn't have that much time to make sure some of this stuff isn't getting put on there.
I like your idea of a survey, but they
I
can.
do like your
they can-
idea of a
They
survey.
can
I
do
don't-
that on the page they have now,
They can do that on the page you have now.
and it's open to the public.
okay.
It's not a private group.
Okay,
You
it
know
was
what I
just,
mean?
it was just an idea, and a couple of residents have said something, so I thought, well, maybe see if it's interesting to anybody, I don't know.
I don't like the idea of the survey part of it, so there's.
It's free information,
I know,
but
is
But
it-
you don't-
it's
is
not
it-
totally
is it
accurate or
valuable
correct.
information?
Yeah.
Because you're not getting grandma who's sixty
Correct.
years old, or like maybe, okay, maybe 60-year-olds are using Facebook now too, but I mean, you're not getting that
Thank you.
older population that.
I am 60 and I use Facebook.
And we, and,
Well,
I mean,
right.
Thank you.
obviously, when you look
But
at
it-
data like that, it
But you
just,
know what I mean,
yeah.
you're only getting people that are on Facebook, not the rest, it's not a full picture, so to base decisions off of a Facebook poll.
No, you
I
don't
don't
base
see
your
any
decision,
value in
right.
that.
No,
You don't
But-
base your decision, it's
Well,
like
right,
any
but
information you
why-
Just
get is not perfect.
Right, but then why get the information if it's gonna be flawed, you know?
You're just setting it up for failure or super success. It's a double-edged sword. I have to.
but we've done surveys before.
We've done mail surveys. I don't know if we've done, even when we had the parks page, I don't know if we've done any, like, Facebook
There's never
polls or
been
anything
one.
like that when we did. But I
Yes,
know,
there
like,
was.
when we were talking about
Many
doing
surveys
some
that were
things
mailed
to,
out.
like,
No, on
Neighborhood
Facebook.
Hills Park and stuff,
No, but we'd mail
the
them out.
neighborhood was
That's
surveyed,
different,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
but nobody.
We just haven't gotten, I know a few community development directors ago had done some survey, and I remember her talking about just the really small return. Like, it was like 9%,
Yeah.
is really low
Really
for what got sent out.
Yeah, the ROI sucks on sendouts. The ROI on Facebook, it's free. I mean, it's better to have some information than no information, because right now we're developing, spending millions of taxpayer dollars with zero input from anybody except us. We're not getting any surveys, any data to use, nothing. And I think that's a huge injustice to taxpayers. Because-
Come to the meetings, they're open.
Well, right,
Now
but,
it's gonna be Facebook Live, it's on
Yep.
YouTube. Don't say that they don't have multiple opportunities.
Well, no, they do,
To get
but-
information. They can even pick up the phone
they
and
have a
call
vote,
City
yeah.
Hall.
We have a campaign and
Yep.
they vote, and so.
We've done a ton more in the
We've done
last
Oh,
couple
right.
of years.
We did surveys, but the last survey I think we did was about what made you come to Isani or something, and we were even gave away something, if I remember right. And like you said, we only got like
That's to-
9% of it back.
New homeowners
New homers.
would get kind of almost like a basket. I don't know how long ago that was. That was a long time ago that they,
We did that survey, that was the
Yeah.
last one we did.
Yeah.
And we got like, so, just for number's sakes, we sent out 100 of them, we got 10 back, that was it, 10%. And that was mailed just to that specific person. This is what they do, goes in the garbage can. It's just, I get questions on surveys, on things get emailed, text to me all the time,
But
it's
it,
like, I don't even waste my time with it.
like if you wanted to do a simple survey for, you know, like using Survey Monkey or something like that, you can attach that to the page on a post saying, what do you like most about our parks? And then you could have 4 things that they could click on, and you might get an idea, but
And
nothing,
yeah,
you know,
that-
that's
I-
about
see,
as,
that-
Right.
now, maybe
You
I'm-
could do
That's what I
something-
mean.
Maybe I'm getting too serious. about
Yeah.
it.
You know,
I mean, I think minor questions.
Yeah, you
that
have,
would be fine.
you
It's
have
just an
the
idea.
information, it's free.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook, 70% of people in the United States have a Facebook. 70%. I mean, not necessarily everybody doesn't use it,
He's one of the
but-
70%, he hardly ever uses it.
he still
I
has
do
it,
use
but,
it if I have to.
yeah.
I mean,
But, I mean, it's a
have it.
free resource, so I don't think it would hurt to try it. I mean,
but
I-
you,
Here's an
it's
example
just,
for you, because I thought in Stanley, where I spent some years out in North Dakota there, they had speakers on Main Street that played music. So I thought that would be kind of fun to do, you know, here maybe if, I don't know what the cost would be, and I didn't bring it up, obviously, now.
a lot of towns back in the day had
Yeah.
that. Downtown Anoka did that.
Stanley's still kinda old though.
Yeah, right, well, I thought that was really neat to have that I mean, that's kind of a hometown feel sort of thing, and I thought that would be
But-
something that would be kind of low cost and what,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's a neat idea, but I mean, shoot, when we had our car shows on Main Street, we'd get complaints of people that living up there.
Just 'cause of the
Of,
noise.
just because of people conversing down below on the sidewalk, having conversation.
Yeah, well, you're always gonna get something.
It's- and it-
But it-
Too loud, but.
I
You get
miss
a lot of complaints with.
doing
the
that when I was younger.
bands out
You
here
walk down
also.
Anoka and the music would be
And,
playing
and,
through the
and
speakers.
and they know long in advance that it's coming. I love the idea.
Yeah, right.
I do, honestly, I do.
What's unique?
But I was gonna say,
Unique,
just, I can have my phone on silent if I got an alarm on it, it always goes off, but
I mean, use the free
but
resource
yeah, I
if
mean,
you can somehow.
If you did have something
that-
like that, you
that
said,
would-
what genre of music are we playing this month? Put a Facebook poll out, there you go, that's how you can decide, you know?
That would, I mean, that's a goal that I would like to have, because social media is such a huge thing nowadays, and I know it was on last year's goal, and I was happy that we did some of it, but why not keep it on there? I mean, it's so valuable. I mean, companies use Facebook and social media to run and sell their entire business. There's companies that are entirely social media based, they make a lot of money, I mean, it's the same, it's the most valuable tool we could ever use, and
And it's also could be the most damning tool.
so.
It can be.
Yes, it can.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you something. Most police officers or cities that have problems with some things that happen is because of cell phones with video cameras. You never had these problems because you didn't have video cameras. And as soon as they video that, they post it on the social media, Twitter, whatever. Goes to Facebook, Twitter, whatever.
so what does
It
that have
gets
to
out-
do with this
Well,
conversation, though?
I guess nothing, look, because again, this is working and not this. That is such a damning problem, even though, because you just posted a video, but you only got this little bit what was going on, not the big picture, not to where the guy swung a knife or a sword, or just as a conversation thing. You didn't send that, you just sent, this was damning, this is what this officer did to somebody. I'm just using that for an example. Social media can be very devastating and a very big problem.
That's why when cities.
That's why I don't
Chooses to
always
post
suggest
something on their
social media.
page.
It is a
Gotta be.
great way to get information. I totally agree with you, but it also, it works in the opposite.
Okay, so last year this was a goal, and now I'm up here saying I'd like to keep the same goal, and now you're
I am just saying,
against it?
be forewarned.
Oh, I
to be
get that. I know
careful
that.
what you say about social media. It's a great way to get things out. It's also a great way to damn things.
Right.
You gotta be careful what you put in social media.
Of course.
Plain and simple. It may be the most honest thing in the world you wanna do, but I guarantee you, 2 out of 10 people are gonna twist it into the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I think. so
I
far
don't
that's-
disagree with you, Lou. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I think so
I'm
far-
just
I know.
telling you, you have to be careful what you do.
I think so far the staff has done a fine job with the Facebook. You know,
I just like to
It's
keep it as a
been-
goal, that's,
very professional.
I don't
and
disagree, but like I just
informative.
said, be forewarned. It's not as great as you think it is.
I agree with you, Luke. I was kind of overthinking it. I mean, if we're not asking serious stuff on there, and it's just more of, you know, that
It's
kind
just-
of, just like their opinion on things
Like
that
what
we're gonna
color-
do
what-
anyway or something like that.
what
That-
color stuff would you like to see at the splash pad?
Sure.
Stuff like that, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, no, I was overthinking it more when we first started talking. I was thinking, well,
But it's not, you know, it'd be like a survey, it's not open for comment at all on there. It's just, you
don't wanna
click
leave it open
multiple
for comment.
choice.
That's the biggest problem,
Yeah.
you leave something open for comment, because you're gonna have somebody go totally off base and it'd be about something you don't even wanna see it on there, or it's inappropriate to be put there.
But it's simple survey, you have multiple choice.
I think that's nothing wrong with that.
And, I've seen a lot of them on Facebook before. for
Yeah, just
different
continue to
things.
look at ways that we can use it. With that, I mean, it's a resource, we should use it, you know? Not necessarily use it as, you know, God's word, but it's there. I don't have any other goals that I had in mind.
I think all our goals have been going on, and it's, a lot of the stuff's still ongoing, so it's just how I feel.
Any other items to add? Then I will be bringing these back, and unless you want to prioritize now, we wouldn't take a vote, it would be by consensus, and then this goes to an upcoming council meeting to vote upon if that's the goal, so we could prioritize them now, or we could prioritize them at that meeting. Would you like to prioritize
What were
tonight?
labeled as goals? I just
So-
heard a lot of cow meeting type discussion. I
It's-
didn't
it's in the
really hear any
packet.
goals.
It's in the packet.
Yeah,
So we
no.
have residential leaf pickup, concept for the splash pad. And I would say the goal of that one is whether you want it or not, is how that one comes to be. But, changes to the public works facility, so removing the storage unit part of what's in the CIP. I heard that maybe it sounded like majority was in favor of the salt shed.
Yeah, I mean, and
That's a
really, the
goal,
splash
though?
pad and the public works discussion is more like, because I mean, you're asking for us to give you direction on what we want you to spend time on in this meeting is basically what the purpose of the goal setting was. So I mean, I'm asking for information more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the splash pad, I mean, I think you were the one that put the splash pad on, you know, I mean, because it's already been a goal and we're trying to figure it out, right? So-
Well, yeah, we
and you
said it at the
wanted- you
December
want
6th
direction.
meeting,
Yeah,
that we
right.
would have it
So
here.
We're trying to get direction on it because we've made changes recently to it, so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not necessarily that we're saying we want to do the splash pad or we want to do this change to public works. It's saying we want to dig for more information on those things, at least those two. Sorry to interrupt you. but-
Yep, so getting more ongoing costs for the splash pad. And then, looking into funding opportunities for getting into the police for their remodel for this year. Changes to the overlay district, including, sign requirements and color requirements. Looking at full-page utility billing or a way to get information out, for things like the newsletter. And then intersection control at East Jewel and CASA 5, recession plan, and then Facebook group for survey and polls.
Or just continuation of Facebook, or yeah, whatever, yeah. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to add to that?
Do you wanna-
I think the top three priorities is gonna be the police station, salt building, and the splash pad. I guess all three of those are just as important. The rest, I think, is just basically continuation, and we can talk the rest on, planning on the overlay district that can come into planning commission. Doesn't need to come to council, because it's gonna have to go through planning commission before it comes to council anyway.
You want us to,
And perhaps we
yes, up or
prioritize
down?
later, because we do have items like the splash pad that need more information to be brought back, like what it looks like in the CIP. Maybe we do prioritize it after we have the information. There's no timeline on it. It's really just council's desire.
Do you want us to do up and down votes on this to, is that what you were
We've done
asking
that
for?
before. It's really up to you if you want to do that.
If
I-
it's, a lot of this stuff is gonna be more information.
Yeah,
I don't
if-
think
I
it
think
should
it's
be
difficult with
prioritized
more
after we get all this information.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier, by muddying up the waters for you more than anything. I don't think we're coming to much of a consensus here tonight on a lot of this stuff. It's a lot of goals that we want to see time spent on, but not necessarily specific ideas in mind for each goal.
I don't know. I'm not trying to get under anybody's skin, but what I got from tonight was way to cut taxes, not any goals. That's what I got out of tonight's
Yeah,
goal
that is a
setting
goal.
session.
Right, that is the goal. is-
But you're looking at trying to cut, I mean, your goal is to cut public works, and that's never
Yeah,
how
I
a goal
guess-
setting
I
session's
guess
been
I'm-
like that here.
I'm a little surprised that you're surprised, because what would the goal, somebody that wants to be fiscally conservative and to be trying to, that is the goal. you know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit up here and say, oh, I wanna build, you know, give me something, give me an idea. I don't even know, I don't even have any ideas on a goal like a new liquor store, or, I don't have any of that. That's not, and you guys didn't come up with anything. So, you know, I mean, if you wanted something like that, why didn't you bring it in? You know, I mean, my goal is, and always has been to be, I mean, and even if you look at the 2019 goal setting, that's on there, because that was the one I put on there, was reducing the overall budget. And here we sit, and that's what was put forward tonight, and that was from Luke and myself, and nothing from you guys.
I mean, if you have a goal to.
If you had a goal, or you have
fully
one now, you're certainly welcome to mention it.
If you have, like, if you wanna fully fund Public Works 110%, or if you wanna, I mean, you can bring up anything, it's just a discussion point amongst us, really. Just gives city staff a little more time to look at stuff, and gives us a general guideline for the year. I mean, we came up with a few that I thought were pretty good, and it's like, I just looked at, you know, past years, and it's like, oh, that makes sense, you know, we could continue that, and, I mean, you gotta have a goal as a council member, you have to,
You
is there
don't
anything
always
that's?
have to have a goal.
Okay.
I don't think you always have to have a goal.
I guess I figured you would, I should say.
Some stuff is, you just are there to be kind of a judge on what is the most wise move to make. You don't always have to have a goal to be an effective council member, I'm not saying that at all, but I mean, if you wanted to talk more on certain specific goals or things that you wanted to get done, why didn't you bring anything forward?
I was going to. But some of that was covered.
Okay. Did you have anything you want to bring forward now?
Nope.
Okay.
So if it's okay with council, I think that we'll plan to bring more information back for some of these items, so then we can determine what exactly the goal is of that item, such as the splash pad. And then we'll prioritize after you have that information, if that's okay.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Sounds good. Then if we don't have anything else to add or discuss, we'll save that establishment of goals to prioritize that later. Then it would just be to ask for motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got first by Carlson and a second by Merrill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, we stand adjourned.